go. We're going to have a good no-holds-barred discussion on this issue. The outrage over the sex abuse scandal at Penn State. It's not just about one man's alleged actions, but the reported inaction of people who actually say they saw former coach Jerry Sandusky raping children. Now, the university says the coach, there he is right there, Mike McQuarrie, is receiving death threats and is now on administrative leave. A warning for you, details that we're about to mention are very graphic and they're disturbing, but this is a reality of the story. McQuarrie is the graduate assistant who entered a Penn State locker room in 2002 and, quoting from the grand jury report, saw a naked boy whose age he estimated to be 10 years old with his hands up against the wall being subjected to anal intercourse by a naked Sandusky. Well, that's Jerry Sandusky, as you know, the former assistant coach, now charged with multiple crimes against boys. So why didn't McQuarrie stop the alleged rape of a child as it was happening in front of him? To talk about it, two human behavior experts join us now. Dr. Alduan Tartt is a clinical psychologist. Dr. Wendy Walsh is a host of The Doctors. Wendy, what is going on here?
Well, there's a bunch of factors here, Don, all disturbing, and it's something that we should all pay heed to so that it'll never happen to us. And the first is that sometimes institutional culture trumps our personal ethics. In other words, if someone high up at CNN was doing something a little shaky, would you tell a superior or would you call the cops? Well, you'd like to think you'd call the cops. But in that situation, to become a whistleblower can be a terrifying thing, so they tend to stay with the institution. The other thing is, Don, there's a guy code. You know, guys don't talk about sex, despite what we hear about locker room talk.
Wendy, even that?
They really don't.
Come on, Wendy, a boy, listen, a child?
You and I know that. You and I would pick up the phone and call 911. This is very
I would go over and intervene.
Nights about this.
I would go over and intervene. But listen, I want to ask you this. Do you think it would be different? Do you think maybe he would have intervened? I don't know. I'm just asking you. Most people, I didn't just think about it. I have been thinking about this. What if it was a 10-year-old girl?
I'm not sure how much gender would have played a role in it. For sure, if he was having sex with a woman against her will, I bet he wouldn't have reported it. I mean, I think that this institutional culture may supersede. He felt like in other words, he felt like he did something by reporting it to a superior. Now, the problem was the superiors come from a whole nother era where this kind of stuff was shoved under the rug. So Paterno's generation, I mean, this stuff went on back then, but people didn't talk about it. So we thought, we'll just close up the locker room from that coach, not let him near there, and then we'll wash our hands of it.
I want to bring in Alduan right now. Isn't there a human instinct, Alduan, to help out? Remember all those people on the campus, the burning cars, turning over cars, burning things. Those people just, they reacted. Their reaction, you can't fathom it. So what's going on here with that sort of reaction? Are they too close to it?
Well, you know, you never expect that kind of thing from someone that you like and admire. He had a godlike status in Penn State. So whenever you see abuse and it's someone that you know, this happens in the family all the time, whether it's grandpa or dad or a brother, you just are in shock and you're trying to figure out what to do because you like the person. They're in power, so you start thinking about your job. And like Dr. Walsh said, you start thinking about chain of command.
Okay, I want to read something from the grand jury report here, and this is for Alduan and for Dr. Wendy. The grand jury report also mentions a janitor who saw Sandusky performing oral sex on a boy who looked to be 11 and 13 years of age. Between that, he was, quote, distraught, and his coworkers feared the janitor would have a heart attack. He was so upset, and yet apparently opted to never tell police. Wendy?
Again, the whistleblower syndrome. How often do we actually revere and raise up and thank the whistleblower? Except for Aaron Brockovich and Norma Ray, it doesn't happen very often. It's more often they are vilified. And here's a janitor who needs his job, who's in a place where he doesn't have a lot of power, and he can have this, terrible emotional reaction himself, but it's not going to turn into behavior because he can't risk losing his own job. And again, I'm not defending the behavior.
Yes.
I'm just saying these are the factors that come into play.
I thought the same thing as I was reading the grand jury report. I was thinking, the janitor, you kind of understand a little bit, but when you think about the whole thing, I mean, is it understandable at all, or we just sort of rationalize it?
At the time, we all freak out. I mean, when you think about it, you see something, you figure out what to do, but here's where he's going to have the most stress right now. Because he realized that as a bystander that did nothing, he contributed not only to the rape of that boy, but other boys, and he could have stopped it.
All right, Alduan, Wendy, hold on 1 second. There's much more to talk about the scandal. The mother of one of Jerry Sandusky's alleged victims speaks out. The doctor is going to stay with us to discuss why molesters can get away with their crimes for so long.